In today's video, we are going to be checking out the Melian M3 Mini GPS. We're going to be doing a real quick review of this product, and then we are going to go out and test it to see how accurate it is. So without further ado, let's get into this week's video of an aviation. So in the Melian M3 package, you actually get a few different accessories. You get a special bike mount, you get some zip ties to attach that to your bike, and you also get a data charging cable. So all that kind of stuff, everything you need to really operate the GPS. But what I really want to get into is how you operate this, some troubles I've had with it, the good things, the things I like about it, and then of course testing it to see how accurate this really is. So I've been using my GPS for about 1 to 2 months now, and it's really worked well. However, there are a few things that I had troubles with and that took me a minute to figure out how to use. That I just wanted to go over real quick so that you understand some of the potential troubles you might have with this GPS. So the first one is actually right when you power it on. So when you power on the GPS, it opens up and it makes one single beep, okay? And when it beeps, it appears as though it is connected to GPS and it's ready to go, but in fact you have to wait until it makes a second beep. Now, besides that, the only other problem I really had with this GPS is sometimes after flying, and this has only happened to me once since I've been using it, I would land the plane and check the speed, and it wouldn't actually properly get the speed. And what I mean by that is it would only read a speed that was like 4 miles an hour when the speeds that I should have been getting were more like 80 miles an hour and something like in that range. So sometimes it kind of disconnects during flight, and because of that, it reads a really low speed. But that has only happened to me once, and I really doubt that it'll happen ever again. It was probably just because my battery was low, and it's really not a big deal. So those are really the only big complaints with this. Now let's go ahead and do a real quick how to use the GPS, and then go ahead and test how accurate it is. Okay, so using the GPS is really simple. There's a power on button on the left, and there is a log button on the right. And this is how you save and unsave certain logs that you have in your GPS. I don't actually use this button that often because for the most part, I just want to see what the maximum speed I got, what the average speed I got, how far the plane went, all that kind of stuff. So to power on, you just hold the left button, hold it down for a little bit until you see everything pop up. One thing that wasn't really said too much in the instruction manual was if you want lights on so that you can see the display a little better, you just hold these two buttons together and you have a nice LED display lighted up. So just a nice tip there if you want to be able to see your GPS better, especially if you happen to be using this at nighttime, which I don't necessarily suggest doing. But once you're in here, there's a few different options. As you can see here, it says average, and this says distance here at the bottom. So if I hit the top button just once again, I can switch between the average and maximum speed, and that will display here. But then if I click it again after I've gone through the average and max speed, nothing appears, and that means it's just going to show me what my current speed is. And I normally set it to here so that when I land, I'll just click back and look through my average and maximum speed. Now, if you're using this for biking, it might be good to put on average speed or something like that. Then down here we have distance. Now we can cycle through a few different options with that as well. If we hit the right button once, we can cycle through altitude and total time, and then ODO. I personally like distance because it's interesting to see how far I've gone in a certain period of time, but that's really the basic functions of how to use the GPS. So now let's go ahead and take this GPS out and put it against a car speedometer so we can see how it reacts during acceleration and how it reacts just overall in its accuracy. So let's go ahead and take this out into a car and see how it does. Okay, so here we are inside the car. As you can see, we have the GPS mounted on the right, and then you can see the speedometer on the left, the car speedometer. So for this first test, we went ahead and accelerated on a highway, basically going from 20 miles an hour to 60 miles an hour while merging onto the highway. So here we go, and you can see this coming up. All right, and there it goes. As we accelerate, you can see that the GPS tends to stay about 10 miles an hour behind where the car speedometer is. And then nearing the end and a little bit during the middle, it actually tends to only be about 5 miles an hour away. And then as we get up to about 55 miles an hour, the GPS tends to come off about 2 miles an hour shorter. So since we reach about 60 miles an hour, it goes to 58 miles an hour. That was something we saw throughout all of our tests, was that no matter how fast we were going, whether we were going really slow or we were going really fast, there was always 2 miles an hour smaller speed from the GPS than there was from the car's speedometer. So I don't exactly know what caused that, but there's obviously a slight change in its accuracy. So I think we could basically say from this that the GPS is accurate within plus or minus 2 miles an hour. But in this case, it's mostly minus. But as you can see, we actually put on cruise control for 60 miles an hour, and straight through cruise control, it's very clear that it's 2 miles an hour below. Alrighty, that's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. It would really help me out, and I post weekly videos similar to this one, lots of reviews, lots of speed tests actually with this GPS. So if you're interested in that kind of content, please consider subscribing. But other than that, I will see you in the next In the Aviation video.